Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey David, how you doing?
Good. We're talking tonight on a rainy night in the Edmonton St. Albert area. On
Yeah,
the Oilers just won, and it's funny. The last game was so depressing, and this game was quite uplifting because it was a 5-3 Oilers victory. But the players just look so much. A lot of them look so much better this game, and
yeah.
I guess we're going to be figuring out what kind of team we have for the next couple months before we, at least for the next month, before we really know what kind of team we have. But there was a couple really exciting developments. Of course, Ethan Bear had a kind of a breakout game. Now we've seen other players in preseason have big moments. Like we all recall the Puljujarvi, Ratty, Yamamoto scoring explosion last year in preseason.
Sure do.
But tonight, Bruce, we're going to just go through the bubble players, the
Oh,
players who are still finding roles on the team, haven't yet made the team. If they have, there's not certain what they're going to do, and we'll talk about each one in turn.
a couple of them made
So,
the team tonight, I think.
all right, let's start with the man of the night. Let's start with the defense, and let's start with Ethan Bear. What was your take?
Oh, liked a lot of what I saw of his game tonight. Um, Maybe he's a little soft at the edge of the crease on the 3-2 goal that put Winnipeg ahead. That's really my only criticism. And even that was kind of a circumstantial thing. I mean, all three Winnipeg goals were kind of sloppy, broken plays. But so much good. What I liked was his confidence. Two, three times I saw him on a play where Winnipeg was breaking through the neutral zone. The defenseman would just frequently just back in, back in. He stepped up and picked off a couple of straight passes before they ever got through the neutral zone, and took control of the puck and under pressure made a good safe play and outlet to Clefbaum and started the play going north. And just made it look easy. But man, that's exactly what you want, isn't it? And uh, handle the puck really with aplomb, I think is the word I may have used in the player grades already. And then, of course, in the he one shot pass that he fired was tipped by James Neal. That drew a penalty. Then Ethan drew a penalty himself when he took a high stick along the boards. And then, of course, in the third period, he was a key player, scoring the 3-3 and then the 5-3 goals that ultimately turned the game in Edmonton's favor. One by going hard to the net, and the other by walking the blue line and firing a shot that found its way through everybody and in. Bit of a fortunate bounce, but he made a good play to get the shot away, and good things happen sometimes.
His ability to walk the line, Bruce, is pretty
Mm-hmm.
unusual. I mean, we haven't seen that. We've seen some
Mm-hmm.
nice goals. I was just trying to think of like athletic skill goals from defensemen. We've seen a couple from Darnell Nurse the last few years. The guy can fly, but in terms of walking the line like
Oh,
that and getting off a shot, we haven't seen that particular skill possessed by an Edmonton Oilers defenseman, and it's an absolutely essential skill in the modern NHL. So Ethan Bear's always been able to do that. The thing that I find, like I wasn't counting on him to make this team, and the reason is, Bruce, like he's always looked a little bit slow to me.
mm-hmm.
He looks like a different player, like literally, because he is more svelte. I swear, Bruce, he was carrying 10 extra pounds or some extra body. He looked like a thicker player. He looks like a thinner player right now. And we heard that he worked out all summer like he never has before. And it's a kind of maturity, I guess, when they talk about ripening. Like, guys
Yes.
realize like Bouchard's coming. They've signed this Pearson guy. Like he was on the outside. If he didn't step up, and then of course he was still on the bubble because until Pearson got hurt. And man, did he ever seize? That was a indication of all the way along. I think he's been at least as good as Pearson in camp.
Mm-hmm.
And and this was one other point I want to make is I would have liked to have seen, and I'm continuing on this, Marody and Benson play with some really skilled players, because the first time Bear gets the chance to play with the A team, with 18 players like Clefbaum and Draisaitl, McDavid, he starts to be able to combine in plays. And I just don't think I would have wanted to see one game where Benson and Marody got to play with that kind of
Right.
top players to see what
Mm-hmm.
they could have done,
Yes.
because all these other guys have been getting lots of chances at that. And so maybe the idea is, well, Bear earned it, but he didn't really earn it. He kind of lucked into it when Pearson got hurt.
Well,
He
kind
did
of, I
earn it, but he
guess.
but he it was also some luck involved. He wouldn't have
Now,
got this chance without the injury.
possibly not. But I've been hearing nothing but positive buzz about the guy, and I've seen him good myself in training camp setting and uh, in his prior game appearances. But I mean, the opportunity to play with Clefbaum. I mean, Clefbaum made it look so easy tonight. I think he made it look easy for both guys a little bit. But you want a guy that clicks with Clefbaum and bears puck moving together with Oscar's mobility. That got others out of trouble a few times. And the Winnipeg announcers, I finally found a decent feed for the third period. It was the TSN feed in high definition, and so it was a whole different set of announcers from Jack and Bob, who I heard in the first two periods. And anyway, the Winnipeg guys, they were quite effusive about Bear, and they talked about how hard he'd worked on his skating all summer, specifically his skating, and they talked about his edge work and how effective he was walking that line, how he made a good play along the boards to reverse to get away from the first checker, and then backed into the center of the ice where he let the shot go. And those couple plays I talked about earlier, where a, a diagonal pass in the neutral zone got a little bit ahead of the Winnipeg guy, and instead of backing away from it, he stepped right up and took it. That's a guy who's confident on his blades. That makes
Well,
that play.
remember that summer where Draisaitl skating suddenly took this big step up, Bruce? And this is what
Sure
Bear
do.
reminds me of. Like it just looks like a different player in terms of his ability to make moves on the ice. So good for him, Bruce. Chris Russell looked really good, but he's not a bubble player, so we won't talk about Russell.
Mhm.
What about uh, Brandon Manning? He is a bubble player. I'll give you my take. Oh, and we have Log. Let's do Manning and Lagesson at the same
Okay,
time because,
they played
um,
together.
yeah, Manning is not an NHL hockey player. Unfortunately for him, he's just too slow, and he's from another era. He's like I don't
Mhm.
know Brad Marsh kind of game. Like he's just slow,
That's a
churning up the
compliment too,
ice.
isn't it?
That is a compliment because Brad Marsh played a
He
long
would
time in
have,
the
he would have,
NHL.
Brandon Manning would have been a lot better in 1990 than he is in the modern game. He's tough, He gets in guys'
He's
faces.
tough.
There's stuff to like about his game.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
really
hate. I have a the player has a history, but I don't hate his game. And I mean, well, the things you mentioned, but he's a gamer. Let's put it that way, and he doesn't back off.
but he's too
And I
slow.
like that,
Can't
but he's
ask
too
for it.
slow. He's not going to make the team, I don't think.
What about I liked Lagesson somewhat. Like I thought he was okay. He's tough.
Hmm.
He's like a better version of Brandon Manning. Um, I really honestly I prefer Caleb Jones, but I think that Lagesson's probably a year older than Jones, and if they're going to have
Yeah.
someone in that seventh D man role, they're probably thinking let's just we'll go with Lagesson there. And I think that would be a good idea. I'm not sure another year in the AHL is going to help the guy. I mean, he's been what is he 23 or 24? He's
He's
ready for the
23.
NHL.
But he's only played 1 year in the AHL.
Yeah,
He played a year in Sweden when Bear and Jones were playing their rookie year in the AHL. Lagesson was playing his rookie year in Sweden, and then last year they were all three in Bakersfield. So, yeah, Lagesson's 1 year older, but they're very much contemporaries in terms of where they are in the development curve.
hmm
And so I don't think if they decided, well, we got six healthy guys, and we're going to 100% put Manning in the press box for the first couple games, and someone gets hurt, then we can call someone up. It's possible they might do that, but I think it's more likely that Bear and Lagesson at this point both make the team, and Patterson starts the year on injured reserve because he's out 7 to 10 days. Lagesson in his game tonight, he had some iffy moments with the puck. One place where I noticed him a fair bit is keeping pucks in at the offensive line. He's strong on the pinch, and you're going to get burned, of course, once in a while doing that. But
strong in the corners.
yeah, he wins battles.
All right, let's go to the forwards, Bruce, and we'll start with Joachim Nygaard. My take on him was like I didn't think he had as good a game. I thought as some of the other forwards who
Mhm.
obviously a couple of guys really impressed.
Yep.
But I thought I like his speed. I'm a little worried that he's the new Toby Rader, is in a fast, pesky guy with a bit of skill, but who's just not going to score in the NHL. We got to see. He's got to start. He's got to put at some points. He does. He does have some moves. He is really fast though, and It's going to be interesting because a lot of these other players like Anton Bertasov and Thomas Jurko, is it Yurcho,
Your Cho, your
Yurcho,
Cho.
Yurcho and Bertasov, I thought outplayed him tonight,
Mhm.
as did Gaten Haas. Like, but he was still pretty good, but they've got some interesting decisions.
They do, they do. I liked Nygaard's game tonight, quite a lot of it. And especially that, he had a couple of misfortunes early. I think he got hit by a puck, and then he got drilled with a great hip check in open ice. And I thought Ballard's Swedes would have just disappeared right out of this game, but this isn't Harold Ballard's era anymore, and I don't think the Swedes ever were particularly had lived down to that reputation. Anyway, this Swede, he got right back involved in the game. He crunched Tucker Pullman with a really nice hit about two shifts after he got crunched. And he went hard to the offensive net. He went hard to the defensive net on a good hard back check on occasion. He made a real nice diagonal pass that sort of set free the Burdasov Draisaitl rush that ended in Bear's 3-3 goal. He was the sort of the third assist, so he won't show up on the score sheet, but he had an important play on your scoring system. He got credited for a helper on that goal. So I've saw lots of nice things. Like he's been like a stick, puck, and even skate magnet in the season so far. Like he's taken some knocks, and he's hanging in there. So that part kind of encourages me a little bit.
Let's just quickly go over kind of the four grinder players: Colby Cave, Josh Archibald, Jujur Kara, and Patrick Russell.
Hmm.
I actually like Kara's game
Yep.
quite a bit because I thought he was puck protecting well and making plays. And what I'm looking for in all the Oiler forwards is people who can make some plays, make some offensive plays, pass the puck, skate fast, play with some skill. I'm tired of this third and fourth line players not being able to score. And Kara showed a little bit more in that regard. I thought Archibald was pretty quiet, very quiet. I didn't notice him at all. And Caven Russell, um, because other players like Yurchko,
You're
Yurchko, Yurchko,
you're Cho. You're Cho.
Yurcho, Jack Michaels was giving us a lesson,
Tomash.
obviously.
Tomash. You're
Thomas
Cho.
Yurcho. Because other players like Yurcho and Bertasov were playing quite a bit better, I thought Cave and Russell receded, and Haas was playing a bit better. So I think they played okay games. There was nothing wrong with the way they played, but I'm worried about both of them being able to put up any number of points at the NHL level, Bruce. Like I could see both of those guys playing all year and getting like 11 points like each. Like so that's my concern about them, and I don't think that's
Cave
enough.
and Russell.
Yeah, Cave and Russell.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that the offense is there for them to be NHL players, even if the defensive play and the hustle is, and the penalty killing is certainly there.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting, maybe they'll be the 13th and 14th forwards, as has been suggested. So
Yeah. Well, Russell, I keep seeing him good, and I think the coaches do too. What I saw tonight was him winning battles along the boards and deep in his own territory two or three times. He just took guys out, pinned them against the boards, or he came back hard to his own net front to make a play. And one such play, he was the first forward back, and he took his man right to the net. And Cave, as the trailing forward, was no longer the center, and he completely missed the wingman that he should have switched off and picked up Russell's defenseman, who walked in for a great chance on goal, Tucker Pullman. So that was again something I think the coaches would probably notice, that because Colby Cave, if you're never going to score, then you can't be having defensive blunders. I saw zero defensive blunders out of Russell, and in the third period, a couple of pretty decent shots. He's got a powerful wrist shot off the wing, and some okay passing. Like he's got a lot of game, and man, he plays 200 feet.
I'm a little less excited about him, honestly, Bruce. I'm not sure
Huh?
the offensive plays there. I think he is a solid defensive hockey player and
Hmm.
a really hard-working
Well,
player.
that's his first ticket to making the team for sure. Is
It
his
sure is. He's
200
covering
foot
that
game.
base, and that's a pretty big base. And I like his hunger.
Yeah.
There's lots to like about him, but I'm just wondering, if he's got, like, we've compared him to Fernando Pisani. Fernando Pisani got like 15 goals a year, right, in the NHL. So can Russell get 10? Can Cave get 10? So
That's a
that's my
good
question
question.
about those guys, and I'm not convinced that they can. And so let's move on to Gate.
I, I did one quick add. I did see Archibald pretty good in this game.
Okay.
Very fast on the forecheck, good on the cycle. That line owned the offensive zone a couple times, and they got a goal off it tonight on the
Who was that line again?
he it was him and Kara, and instead of Sheehan between them tonight, they had Haas.
Oh, okay, that was the line.
Yeah,
That was an effective unit. And
yeah, it
I
was.
haven't liked Riley Sheehan, honestly. I
Mhm.
think he's kind of big and slow. So it would be interesting for me to see if Haas and Cave will be the centers. I doubt it, but I certainly like Gaetan Haas's game tonight. It was the first time, and as the game got going, he got better. He's
Yes,
fast. He's
he
really
is
fast,
fast.
and he's good with the puck, and he looks smart. So I can see why they were interested in this player all of a
Yes.
sudden. Hadn't seen it before. I saw it tonight for the first time. What did you give him, a 6 or a 7?
I haven't got quite that far yet. I've mostly written comments, and I have to fill in the grades yet
Right.
because I was
I'd
commenting
give
as I
him a
went. But
7. Good.
yeah, no, that sounds about right. I saw him real good, and mostly it was just small plays, but small,
Yeah.
smart one plays, and in all three zones where he was moving the puck to good spots, and he was moving himself with alacrity. Like he is a fast skater, and he was making good things happen. And then he finally was rewarded with an assist on the last goal by Bear, where he made a real nice play from the corner and he cut diagonally through, high in the zone, and then he fed it across the Bear, and he took a man with him. And that kind of opened up the middle of the ice for Bear to back into, and it was a good play by both of them.
It was. That was created by Haas. And speaking of creating goals, I thought the first goal that Yurcho scored,
Mm-hmm.
um, he got that puck in deep,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and then Neal went and fetched it. And Yurcho kind of, I was really impressed by how quickly he got back in the offensive zone. He just went like, I had to watch the replay a number of times to figure out what happened, like who was coming from where, because my feed wasn't that strong either in terms of
Right.
figuring out who was who. But he got the puck and he was kind of circling back to center ice, and then he must have just stopped and started and gone right to the net. Good for him. He
Yeah,
really he's got some skill, Bruce. I mean, obviously with that goal that he scored, and he and Neal combined nicely with McDavid on the power play goal. That was good hands by Yurcho. He lost the puck, but then he was able to tip it over to Neal, who tipped it over to McDavid. So there was
yeah.
enough skill there. Like so,
Mm-hmm.
so for me, the question is like, is it Yurcho or is it Nygaard? Like,
Yeah.
one of those guys might be in the top six, and like, who's been better at this point? And I
It
don't.
is a good
I
question.
think it might be Yurcho. Like, I would say Yurcho's been better. That's what I'm saying. Even though Nygaard came in with a bigger reputation, this is like the Ethan Bear situation again, where Jones and other players had the bigger reputation coming in. Yurcho has been slightly better.
Yeah, well, he certainly was good tonight. I mean, 2 goals and assist, and as say, just good opportunistic plays in close. Like both his goal, like he was just in the right place and let it go and got it on net and in, and his assist. Draisaitl kind of fired a grenade into his skates, and he was able to control it just enough to chip it into a good spot where his teammates could finish it off. But the game winner that he scored on the power play, uh, that was a very slick play, man. He beat the guy outside, inside, and quick shot right under the 6 hole under the blocker arm, and that was like out of nothing. Like he started going wide. Looks like the defenseman's got bam, it's in the net. Whoa. And that's the sort of thing that'll get your attention. So I'm sure it got coach's attention. We need scoring from the wings, and it's not the first game that he's impressed us, David. I think he's looked pretty good in every game that
He
he's
he
played.
certainly has. Okay, Anton Bertasov, who doesn't have a contract, is on a PTO. Bruce, you didn't like him. I liked him.
No, I
I
like him. I
thought
just think he's in tough.
he totally is in tough. I wonder if he'll get. I wonder if he would take a minor league HL deal, HL NHL deal, because I'd
Two
like
way,
to.
you mean?
Yeah, two-way deal. I hope he's sticks with the organization. I like this player. He's big. He's got some skill. He looks like he could score some goals. And again, we can't have this where the bottom six doesn't score any goals this year. So any player who has that ability, to me, is and when he gets the puck, he makes a good play with it. That's what I'm seeing. He was on Bear's goal. He made an early pass, and he also jammed the goalie, and the puck went over to Bear. I thought, and
Yeah, I thought he passed it directly, but either way, he earned either the first or
both.
second
He
assist
did
on that
both.
goal.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I liked the player, and I thought he had a pretty good game. I didn't think Draisaitl actually brought his A game. So it's kind of hard when your center is kind of in preseason mode
hmm
to look fantastic. If I'm completely honest, I thought Leon kind of mailed it in a little bit tonight. Um, and he was his response. Benning really screwed up on that goal against, but Draisaitl was also sleeping in the slot there. Come on.
He was
So
asleep on two of the, if not
yeah,
all three of the Jets goals that
yeah,
were all scored against that line.
yeah,
But Leon, I thought he was fairly. Um, he almost slept through the first two periods, and the third period he just came alive.
yeah.
He was a dominant player in the third period, and I don't think it was just my switch to high definition. It looked like Leon himself dialed into a different level in the final frame. He got a couple of assists and made some good plays all over the ice, and possession type plays. So, uh, but he's one of those guys uh, that he's on the team. These are tune-up games only.
Yeah, it's a different thing for him. So it was a
But
little made it a little
but
hard for Nygaard and Bertasov, I'm going to
but
suggest.
Bertasov, he makes a lot of good plays, and you you can see the experience. You can see the polish on the guy. Like he does little things that have
Yes.
good results. And
For a second game, that's the second game, right?
yes,
In the NHL, so
yeah.
preseason, so not bad. Bird is the word, man. All right, Bruce, I think that's all the bubble players, but I did want to talk about one other player who's impressed me in the preseason. And again, it's
Okay.
just preseason. But James Neal,
hmm
um, like you can see the 20 goal scorer there. He and maybe I'm just comparing him to Lucic, and maybe I'm comparing him to this kind of bad version of Lucic in my head that really isn't the real Lucic. But the version of Lucic in my head is this player who can't make a play in the offensive end, who's constantly giving away the puck, who's
hmm
too slow getting there, uh, consistently by half a step, and when he does get a pass, he gave it away. So that's a pretty negative appraisal, but that's my appraisal of Leon or Milan Lucic as an offensive player. Neal seems to be much closer to being there at the right time often, and much better when he gets the puck on his stick, making a play. So he just seems like a marked improvement over Milan Lucic, and I hope to continue to see this in the regular season. He looks like he can fit in with McDavid and Draisaitl, and looks like he's going to be, to me, like I wasn't. A lot of people were saying they were hoping or expecting him to score 20 goals. I'm not going to make a prediction because I want to see him in the regular season, but that doesn't seem outlandish to me anymore.
Oh no. Oh, I mean, he's a proven 20 goal scorer, and the only question is, did the wheels come completely off in Calgary, or did he just need a wheel alignment and back out or back on the road? Tonight, he had zero shots on net. He had three shot attempts, and they all missed the target, which doesn't sound good. But he had a good night passing the puck. He had two assists, like in tight to the net, good passes in tight. He drew a penalty by driving the net and tipping a shot just wide. Uh, uh, he had some positive impact in the offensive zone. I don't see him great. Like a lot of times, he has shifts at a time, and you don't notice him at all.
Yes,
But
yeah.
around the net, give the guy half a chance, and um, he's certainly capable of making things happen. And he had a couple of key plays on those early goals.
It's funny, Bruce. Earlier today, after that really terrible game against, who was it last
Arizona.
game? Oh, Arizona. I looked at all the Oiler forwards, like first year Oiler forwards in the Decade of Darkness Plus, and there was like 84 guys who have had auditions with the Oilers in that time. 84 forwards have had at least 10 games, and only 13 of them became good players for the Edmonton Oilers. Just 13. So this year we have probably about seven newcomers to the team. I'm guessing six to seven newcomer forwards are going to play
hmm
about 10 games this year. So if averages hold, we'll be lucky to have
hmm
one of them, or we can kind of expect maybe one of them to become a good player for the Oilers. And here we are, like here I am. I'll speak for myself. hoping that all of them, of course, can become good players for the Edmonton Oilers. And I'm a very optimistic fan, and so that's what I hope right now. But maybe Ken Holland and Tippett are that much better than the previous group of coaches and GMs at procuring and working with players, and maybe we'll get half of the 6 who become good players for the Oilers. That would be fantastic if we could get half. If we could get 3 players out of all these players, because we probably mentioned 7 or 8 here. If we could get 3 of those guys to come
Yeah,
up big, and that includes James Neal in that
right.
group, that would be huge for the Oilers, obviously, and it would be better than average, certainly than what we've seen in the decade of darkness. What a horrific, horrible. I listed them all. It was like, I don't know if you looked over the list, but it was to weep.
Well, you've got a bunch of guys. I mean, you remember the famous Craig McTavish quote when he came in and took over the team and said, "We got a bunch of guys in
Yeah,
the bottom 6 where a lot of nights the best you can hope for is to break even." And he
yeah.
was right. And he was right. But I've liked what I've seen. Of course, I'm always optimistic about guys before I see them, but I'm still optimistic about many of these guys now that I have seen them. You know, these off-season acquisitions of Holland. I do think that some of them are going to have a chance to, at least hold their own and more than break even some nights and hold their own overall. And the bottom 6 has been killing Edmonton for too long.
Do you think
Last
we'll
year
see
was
any?
that.
Do you think we'll see any cuts tomorrow, Bruce?
Possibly. I mean, they only need to cut 4 more guys,
Yeah. So who might get
assuming
cut?
Pearson starts uh, on the roster, or
Well,
sorry,
Granlund
injured
must be injured.
reserved.
Granlund must be
Yeah,
injured
Granlund, they
too.
haven't been. He didn't skate since Monday, I think.
Okay.
So
Maybe they got 2 guys.
he might also be on IR, which kind of sucks from a salary cap perspective if they have to do that. But they may want to have a little bit longer look at a couple of these other guys. I mean, if Granlund's nicked up and you've got Yurcho, Tomas Yurcho,
You
and
just said it 4 times
yeah,
differently.
and Joachim Nygaard. And who are
And
these guys?
Joaquin
Look,
Andujar, isn't he in
yeah,
that
well,
list?
yeah, exactly. At least the Dane has got a good pronounceable name, Patrick Russell.
Russell, he's like a Canadian. Yeah.
And
Anton
he's right
Bertuzov's
there.
easy too.
Yeah, well, Birdsov is a contract thing, and they may just say, well, we got guys under contract that are playing just as good as him, so we'll go with those guys.
That would be the only one who
It's
might
not
go.
locked in. It's not
Yeah,
locked in that he'll get signed. I mean,
I agree.
so I mean, he's a nice option. I'm hoping we'll see these same guys next game, and I was very happy with Tippett's decision tonight to split Connor and Leon,
Me
and
too.
that way you give 4 wingers a chance instead of one.
It's
Because you
always
put
been best,
Leon and
Bruce.
Connor together, there's only room for one other guy on that line. The second line is a mishmash. Well,
Bruce.
tonight you had puck distributors playing center on the first 2 lines, and all those wingers had a decent chance to show their stuff, and they showed pretty well.
That's exactly why you split them up, and then you have
Uh,
RNH on the 3rd line, and then you don't have to. Then you can have your pick. Then you
if
can have Haas or Sheehan or Cave as your
you have
center.
some decent wingers, then yes. And that Haas, the one thing he's got going for him, and it stood out tonight a
Speed.
couple of times. He's a righty. He's the
Oh
only
yeah,
one.
that too.
He's the only one of the centers, and he's uh, and having that capacity to take the draw, the right shot draw, is important, and it might even be even more important this year with the new rules about the face-offs. For example, the power play team now can choose which side of the ice they can take a
Indeed.
face-off on. So if you send out a first penalty kill unit, you want to have a righty face-off taker and a lefty face-off taker. Ideally, that can at least have a chance to win the draw either side. So having a competent righty, and he went 7 wins, 4 losses tonight, 64%. So
Yeah, he was the only guy
uh,
who.
he's the only guy above the water line, and had a decent night in that regard. So he's he's close. I think.
He skates like an NHLer, Bruce,
Yeah,
and Colby
yeah.
Cave does not. That's the honest to God's truth there, and it's going to be. They might be thinking about that, right? They might be looking. because the Oilers need more speed. They were so bloody slow last year in that bottom six. It was just painful to watch. They need faster players. So maybe that's why Bertasov doesn't make it, because he doesn't look particularly fast. Like he's a big guy and he moves well for a big guy. He's kind of like a maroon kind of
He
guy,
doesn't
maybe
have
without
lead
the
boots or anything, but he's not a
yeah.
speedster.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. I don't know.
Yurcho,
You're
Yurcho.
the
This
man
is
of
going to be a
1,000
tough one.
names. No, the
This is
man of
going to be
1,000 pronunciations.
yeah. He's going to be
Yurcho.
a Yurcho.
It's
He's
like a
going.
toast.
We're
If
going
the
to
Oilers
get
score
there.
a goal
Yeah,
this year, we'll all yell Yurcho.
we're going to. We're going to. He's. I wouldn't call him a speedster, but I would call him a pretty good skater, and he's very agile. He seems to hit the holes well,
Yeah, it's very
and
smooth.
he's kind of fluid, on his skates, so
He's
he.
never scored a whole lot though. Like if we're completely honest about his career, like he's never been a he's been an okay scorer at the AHL level, but
Yeah,
he's put up 50 points in 200 NHL games.
yeah,
So let's keep that in mind in our analysis of him. So of course he's never played with Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl.
no, that's right. He
So
played
that
on the line with Riley Sheehan and Thomas Tatar in Detroit,
he did,
and
eh?
they were a depth line, probably third line.
Yeah, and
Um,
you know,
so
we'll see with
20
Shane. I'm not
20
a
points in the bottom six. It doesn't sound like much, but it doesn't totally stink for a bottom six. It's certainly a fourth line player. 20 points. I mean, you see
it would have
guys on the
been
Oilers with 5 and 3 and 9, that kind of stuff. So
0
anybody,
goals. That can happen. It happened to Riley Sheehan almost too in
yeah,
Detroit. Anyway,
yeah, it did.
uh, you never lived that down. Like Riley Sheehan, like at least he scored one, didn't he?
He scored two in game number 82.
Good for him.
Last game of the season, he bailed himself out with a brace.
A brace. I like that.
Oh.
A brace of rabbits right out of
Hmm.
the rings. All right, or British soccer they talk about.
That's an old Newfie term, and it's from soccer. Absolutely,
All right,
that's my roots.
all right, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.